Okay. I know this looks like a lot, and it looks like I'm just another crazy Deltarune theorist, but I'm not that bad. But I just want to start this off by saying that I am not a content creator and terrible making videos like this. Um, so like don't be too harsh on what I say. I don't know how to properly voice what I'm thinking. So this is the best way I can do this. Second thing, when Susie made the Dark World, I think it's pretty obvious that her Dark World's very jumbled up. I mean, like the first thing we see is the third hero. Let's just like get that quickly out of the way. Look right over here. The first hero, a cage with human parts. Second hero, girl, hope crossed in her heart. The third hero, a prince, the only prince of the dark. Last was the girl, and at last was the girl. And you can see my very sprawling writings on the wall here, but trust me, this is all important. We'll get back to it later. Okay, so you know how Gerson describes Susie as holding the pen of hope? Yeah, people are saying that this is Susie because she is, you know, has the one that prophecy that it's talking about has the Rude Buster as the icon it's displaying, but I think it's a red herring. It's a red herring. Do not fall for it, obviously. It's obviously because Noelle is obsessed with Susie, and why would Susie be a just like with gesture icon, something like that? I forgot exactly what I wrote down, but it's a red herring. The second, this is actually Susie because, you know, Gerson described her that way. It would be weird if she wasn't a hero, because she's willing to start. She's, you know, been here, obviously. And blah, 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 blah. Something like that. Yeah. There are obviously two different girls, being Susie, Noelle, and Susie. It kind of gets confusing when you hear that Gerson says he believes Susie holds a pen of hope. So Susie's obviously the girl with hope crossed in her heart. At first I kind of want to chalk it up to the fact that Gerson interpreted it differently, but I don't think that's the case here. I think that Gerson interpreted it perfectly. The reason with this being is that Susie has always had the ability to defy what the prophecy says. I mean, like in chapter 3, Susie's apparently supposed to wear bows for whatever reason, and in the picture that it shows, the girl with the hope cross on her heart, she actually has an axe for some reason. I mean, it shows that she has a sword for some reason, which is weird because the only person that has a sword is Chris. And then at last was the girl. It could be a red herring. It couldn't. It could also just be just straight up Susie, not being a part of the prophecy. But it would be really weird for Gerson to say that Susie's the holding the pen of hope, and then this to be brought up like next chapter. So I'm just go with betting on that Gerson knows what he's talking about, and the prophecy is actually from Noelle, because Noelle is really obsessed with Susie, and Susie, being known for a rude buster, would make sense. And why not show an actual picture of Noelle? Well, that's just because Noelle's not actually no, supposed to be there. Okay, the next part about this theory, well, this is more of a recap than anything, but it's still a theory in some regards, is how Dragon Blazers parallels the actual story of Deltarune. This is kind of backed up with what Gerson says, like he's talking about Chapter 1, The March of the Dark King, being actually Chapter 1 of Deltarune, then Chapter 2, The City of the Shining, you know, paralleling Chapter 2, Cyber City, and then so on and so forth. And actually, I have a chapter 5 prediction. Chapter 5 is going to be in the Flower Garden with Asgore, as he gets very jealous over the fact that Sans is Toriel's new lover, which sucks for Asgore. But then again, he's kind of a bum and a loser and a no good dude eater and an idiot and a worthless piece of. No, he's not worthless, but he's not a good individual. Sorry, Asgore. But yeah, Dragon Blazers, Lord of the Hammer, parallels Deltarune. And specifically the fact that Tenna is the one that actually I actually need to read what I wrote down for a second. Here's a shocking revelation to hopefully a lot of you. The game we play in Tenna's board minigame is actually an altered version of Dragon Blazers. If we get S-Rank cover, we can actually get the real Dragon Blazers. Most of you have already probably gotten the Shadow Mount, so I'm not gonna get the nitty-gritty of it all. But I will say this: so Dorla has a Deltarune symbol. Why does it have why does it have 4 triangles and not 3, like in the actual Deltarune? Now I didn't get to finish this because I'm just too excited to write, but this door right here is supposed to symbolize the forbidden path, the forbidden way we're supposed to, the forbidden way we're kind of meant to go-ish. And once we get there, once we enter the forbidden path, you know, we meet an ice mage. It's probably supposed to be representative of Noelle, and probably in all regards. Freezing monsters the same way that she frees Birdly. Pretty obvious, you know. It's not something that I should kind of have to explain, unless you haven't watched a playthrough or played the game. But that's kind of your fault for creating a theory video with no outside knowledge of what's going on, so not on me. And I was initially thinking the Deltarune on the door was the original logo, and that this Deltarune is actually the altered one, but I feel like that may or may not be the case. I feel like the Deltarune on this door is supposed to be symbolic of the fact that we're going on a different path, a different route. And we're more or less replacing Rouse with Noelle. That's why a weirdly shaped, another new triangle is added inside the Deltarune, which also kind of looks like a person with big horns. Now I think about it, it kind of looks like antlers. But I'm gonna ignore that for right now because that's kind of annoying to see that now. But it doesn't matter. Anyways. The Deltarune. I kind of okay. The way it's like keep talking about parallels between Lord of the Hammer / Dragon Blazers and Deltarune is that the fact that just like in Tenna's board games, Gaster altered Deltarune specifically to get us to not have Noelle a part of the prophecy or whatever, to make sure that she doesn't get in the way of whatever he's trying to do, and make sure we don't go down the forbidden path or whatever. Just like how Tenna altered Dragon Blazers, Gaster altered Deltarune. I believe it to be an attempt to exclude Noelle to stop us from going down the forbidden path and make sure he acquires his Deltarune. I mean, it kind of parallels our own story in Chapter 3, you know? We're playing a game that was altered to fit a specific purpose. That purpose being for Gaster to get his Deltarune. However, the real game exists out there somewhere within the game itself. In order to find a different outcome against an enemy that is impossible otherwise, you know, like the one we fought at the end of Chapter 3, being the Roaring Knight. We may or may not have to go down a forbidden path. Snowger is most likely that forbidden path. most likely that forbidden path. If we want a different ending, if we want to solve the prophecy, we have to go down a route that's not presented through conventional means. But yeah, all in all, Tenna, Gaster, like Tenna, altered Deltarune to fit a specific purpose in order to achieve a mean, that being to acquire his Deltarune, not the Deltarune, his Deltarune, his own interpretation of the events in the prophecy. However, we can alter the prophecy, not alter the prophecy, alter his Deltarune in order to being more like the true one, I believe. And we do that with the help of Noelle. I really do. I think the Dark Worlds are supposed to be like paralleling Dragon Blazers, paralleling Tenna's adventure, the Tenna board game, in some way, you know, or paralleling Lord of the Hammer. I mean, if we could read Lord of the Hammer, we could, you know, probably see the whole thing. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Just quick recap: Noelle, Ice Mage, same person. Susie's the girl with the hope crossed in her heart, just like Gerson said. It's a red herring with frickin' and last was a girl, and at last was the girl. And last was a girl is probably in reference to the fact that she gets bolder and more confident in herself, and when it says "and at last was the girl," it's because she finally becomes her true self, or she comes from a caterpillar to a butterfly type of deal. I don't know why there's a Brood Buster icon. Probably is because she has obsessed with Susie or something. But yeah. Alright, to finally recap everything, to put it all in a neat bow, because I am rambling on and yapping, and it probably doesn't make sense right now. Gaster, I already recapped, but well, whatever. I'll recap one more time because, yeah. Tenna altered Dragon Blazers, just like how Gaster altered Deltarune, and I believe it to be an attempt to exclude. Okay, fuck, I already read that. Hold up, going into my notes. Give me a second. Okay, I found it. The recap, blah blah blah. Gaster, Tenna, parallel, both fit specific means, blah blah blah. We have to go on to the forbidden path in order to acquire the real Deltarune, in order to acquire the real prophecy, and you know, stop the prophecy from happening. Actually, a little mini theory here. The prophecy is actually supposed the prophecy that Susie breaks with her hand and ends up bleeding is actually it's probably referencing the fact that "Don't forget I'm with you in the dark" is probably like Ralse saying that, hey, even if you won't remember me, I'm still gonna be here in the dark with you, no matter what. And that's probably what's in reference to the fact that the terrible thing that's gonna happen is that in order to save the world, we're gonna have to seal all the Dark Worlds, stop the fantasy, forget everything that happened, like literally forget, get amnesia what happened in the Dark Worlds, and never see Ralse again. It really sucks. So that's what I think would happen with the prophecy, but yeah, that's all I have. Tenna and Gaster, parallel. Dragon Blazers and Deltarune are parallel with each other. Go off the beaten path to get the real thing. Gaster says his Deltarune. It could be in reference to the Undertale's prophecy. Blah 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 blah. Anyways, but hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Thanks for watching.